found JD Sharp of Pro Wagering. JD, welcome. It's Dom this time. And Monday Night Football, it was everything we could have wanted, right? What a matchup between the Bears and the Vikings. It was a close, hard-fought game. I'm being a little loose with my compliments, aren't I?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at kind of what's happening this year in pro football, I mean, just like it was back in the 50s and the 60s, there wasn't really high-scoring games. It was more the quarterbacks ran a lot. They passed sparingly, which is kind of what you're seeing now. The defenses were really hard-nosed. They played extremely tough defense, what you're seeing now. I think that one of the problems that we're seeing in the NFL is that these quarterbacks, they're not your prototypical size guys. They're not 6'5", 6'6". A lot of them are 6'1", 6'2". A lot of them are run first and instead of pass first. You're seeing these defensive ends that are now 6'5" to 6'7" that run 4.6s that have 40-inch vertical leaps and 35-inch arms, and they're knocking down passes constantly. That's leading to tip balls. That's leading to interceptions. The linebackers are now running 4.4s, 4.3s in some cases. A lockdown corner can lock down the entire side of the field, like you saw with Jalen Johnson last night. So, for a long time fundamental football fan, this is actually really cool because you're watching great defense. You're watching offenses that have to be extremely inventive. You're watching a premium product, in my opinion, at this level. But for the new fan that just likes a lot of points all the time, number one, you're getting crushed betting because you're betting the over and it keeps going under. And number two, you're not getting the points that you want to see. But I do think that the quarterback gravitating from pass first to run first has made the quarterback smaller, which has made the quarterback faster, however, more agile, so to speak. However, because the DNs are so big now and the linebackers are so big now, the chance of those balls being batted down are significantly higher, which leads to tip passes, which leads to interceptions. So, there's good and bad with it, but yeah, it was a great game to watch from a fundamental perspective as far as defensively. But yeah, if you were looking for points, wasn't there. However, thank God for me, I had the Bears plus 3.5, 2.25 units, ended a 9-4 week. So I'm starting to do really, really well in the NFL right now. I just passed 500 on the season, so I've now got my first winning record for the season, which is great. I'm 19-8 my last 4 weeks. We still got 6 weeks left, so I think I could still finish this thing 57-60% of the season, which isn't 69 like I had last year, but it's still very, very good. So to recap, great defense was played, and the game is evolving to kind of what it was, or devolving to what it was back in the 50s and 60s. And I think that these defensive ends, these defensive players, just being so big and so athletic, has a ton to do with that.
It's funny. I was getting ready to say, "Hey, JD, I know your picks haven't been as you haven't been hitting as much as you did last season. It's been a bit of a struggle, but I'll say you got this right. Josh Dobbs, I think it's midnight, right? It seems like the glass slippers are turning back into regular slippers. The pumpkin carriage, it's over for, not over for Josh Dobbs, but the Cinderella fairy tale's got to be over, right? After 4 picks.
Yeah, but honestly, I still think Dobbs. I think that's just a bad matchup. The Bears brought on Montez Sweat. And Sweat, he's a 6'5". He's 6'6", 260. He runs like a 4.48. Just a complete freak show at defensive end. He had a sack. He prevented Dobbs from running to the left, which he loves to do. And 2 of those interceptions were tipped balls. They were just balls that he threw really hard that were not caught. Now, he missed Addison. Obviously, he had that pick six that could have been for Jalen Johnson. But Jaron Hall is not going to start the rest of the season. It's going to be Josh Dobbs. He's going to be the guy. But yeah, I think that a game like this was bound to happen. He was at 66, 67% for the entire season. Remember, he was like a 4th-round guy at Tennessee. Yeah, very talented. But when you play that style of ball, when you are used to running away from your opponents and you throw it really, really hard, there's just going to be situations where you have a defensive end that's just as fast as you, like a Montez Sweat, or you throw it too hard and your rookie wide receiver can't catch it. So I don't think that Dobbs is going to be affected by this. I think that this is expected because that's, what goes up must come down.
You know, it's funny. I look at the AFC, and you've got Buffalo at 6-6, where Josh Allen looks like a top 3 quarterback one week, and then a bottom 5 quarterback the next week. You look at the North, Cleveland and Pittsburgh, both 7-4. Jacksonville, Indy's got a winning record. Houston's got a winning record. Denver 6-5 in the playoff hunt with a winning record. So, from the AFC perspective, which of these kind of, and I'll use air quotes here, surprising teams do you think have a legitimate chance of sneaking into the playoffs and maybe being a bit of a disruptor come playoff time between, Denver, Houston, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland?
Honestly, I would say Cleveland, but I don't think Thompson Robinson has the weapons around him unless they face a team that's really bad against the run, which I thought the Broncos were. The Broncos have all the pieces pretty much. Now, they've got Baron Browning for the edge rusher. They've obviously got Cortland Sutton, who is an extremely talented wide receiver, along with Judy and Mims and Javonte Williams, and Wilson's playing well. They've got a really good coach in Sean Payton. So I think the Broncos have to be looked at. The Steelers, Pickett's playing really well. He's got Freiermuth back. He's got Pickens. He's got Deontay Johnson, and Harris is playing okay. Warren's kind of emerging as a bit of a threat out of the backfield. He's not getting as sacked as I thought he would. I thought he would be like number 3 in sacks. He's only been sacked 22 times this year, 23 times, so he's not getting sacked as much. And you've still got Watt on the outside, who's got 14.5 sacks himself. I think Pittsburgh, and then Tomlin. Tomlin's a very, very good coach. He's been successful for a long time, Super Bowl winning coach. So I think that you have to consider the Steelers. But no, the Jaguars to me are the real contender in the AFC. They have a team that can compete with the Ravens, which very few do. They've got a very strong offensive line. Trevor Lawrence is consistently throwing 70% of his passes. He's now got 4 weapons with Jones, Ingram, Ridley, and Christian Kirk. Etienne's been good. He hasn't fumbled this year. That defense with Josh Allen, he's got 14 sacks on the year. They've deflected almost 70 passes. When Tyson Campbell gets back, they get even better. I think the Jags have a chance to emerge out of the AFC as a legitimate contender. Besides that, though, in the Texans, they just don't have the pass D. They don't have the offense either. I like Stroud's obviously had a great year. I thought they would contend for the playoffs, but they're about where I thought they would be. I think they're going to win 8-9 games. I think they're going to barely miss the playoffs, but I would say out of those teams, the Jags for sure. They're number 1 by far, in my opinion. The Browns are out, and the Broncos and Steelers. And if I had to choose those 2 teams, I would take the Steelers in that spot. So I'm going to say Jags and Steelers.
We're speaking with J.D. Sharp of Pro Wagering and ProWagering.com. I saw a tweet from Adam Schefter saying he wouldn't be surprised if there's, I think his number was up to 10 coaches that get fired. Up from the beginning of the year, we lost a couple already, all the way through Black Monday after the season wraps. For you, JD, 10, does that feel too high, too low, about right? Where does that land on your radar?
Yeah, that sounds absolutely insane. That seems way too high. I think the actual number of teams is, obviously you had Reich, and what happened with Stroud was just ridiculous. Dayball should be gone. I think the team has turned on him. I don't think Belichick's going to go. I just think that they just have such a bad roster, and they've had a lot of injury problems. This is going to fire them up. The Cardinals, maybe, but he's so young. I don't know what that's going to do for them. Again, Murray's out for. How does a coach get fired when your quarterback's out for 8 weeks this season? How does that happen? That just doesn't happen. So, especially when Kingsbury drafted him number 1. So the last coach, basically just sold the farm to get this guy. Went all in, took his $70 million, went to Thailand, and he's living there forever. And now you have to deal with that, and suddenly it's your fault. It's very similar to what's happening right now with politically, in my opinion. So, but. Yeah, no, I think we'll probably see 3 or 4. I don't think we're going to see 10. I think that's probably a mistake. But definitely Dayball's gone. And again with Salah, what are the Jets supposed to do? They got Rodgers. They have the defense. They have Wilson. They have Cook. They have Hall. Rodgers tears his Achilles. What's he supposed to do? He can't do anything. It's out of his control. So I think Salah sticks around. But yeah, probably 3 or 4 coaches will be gone.
And I know football and baseball tend to be your wheelhouse, but I do have one basketball question for you. More of an overview question, but the in-season tournament, from what you've noticed, has that really affected people's betting habits on a game-per-game basis, or has it pretty much been status quo for basketball over there in Vegas?
I don't even know. Honestly, I'm doing a little NBA this year. I'm like 9-8. I took the Clippers last night. Despite the fact that Jokic and Murray were out, they lost the game outright, which is pretty hard to fathom. But yeah, I mean, I like what I've seen from Chet Holmgren this year. As far as the in-play tournament, it's just weird. I don't even understand it. I don't know what they're playing for. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I haven't seen a major difference there. I would guess that it's probably nominal because there hasn't been enough hype behind it. There just isn't a lot on the line in order for the betting patterns to really change. I don't think.
Do you think once we get into the tournament portion, like the knockouts, that because people love a good bracket, do you think
Right.
that'll change things a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I think that'll definitely Once the brackets involved, once there's actual seeds, and once all that stuff is in place, then sure, I think that could have an effect. But as of right now, as far as the games that are kind of like the College World Series, it's kind of the same thing. When the season plays out, and then based on that, you have a seed, et cetera. Or even NCAA basketball. So yeah, I think under those circumstances, you're right. People do love a bracket. They love elimination games. They love potential next matchups, et cetera. They love betting futures on those situations. So yeah, under those circumstances, I could see it changing, but as of now, it's not.
We've been speaking with JD Sharp of Pro Wagering, talking some football and a little bit of basketball, too, which we don't do a lot with JD, but may have to do a little bit more moving forward since he's been in on it this year. Chet Holmgren also was very underrated going into the season to win Rookie of the Year, and yeah, he has not disappointed so far. So, JD, thanks so much for taking some time and joining us. Always a pleasure having you on, man.
Hey, thanks a lot, Tom.